So I'll officially call us to order and thank everyone again for joining us today, our visitors in the room and virtually, and all the commissioners who continue to dedicate their valuable time to these important conversations. So with that said, I think the way I'm going to approach these introductions is just go down the list here in the participant place and team. So Commissioner Mitchell, if you don't mind kicking us off, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good to see you. Amy Mitchell, Park County Commissioner and Commissioner to this organization. So, and Dayton, good job yesterday at the Colorado Center for Aging. Enjoyed your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Erin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erin Marizella. I'm the Executive Director of Innovations and Aging Collaborative here in Colorado Springs.
Thank you, Erin. Kathy Cirillo Smith, in case there's another Kathy online.
Not with the last name Cirillo. Anyhow, I'm Kathy Cirillo Smith, and I'm a commissioner on the Pikes Peak and also the state commission. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Kathy. I know you wear many hats. I think going forward, if we could mention kind of where we represent as well. That's my bad on not asking to do that within the intros, but I'm sure we'll pick that up as for those who've already introduced yourselves. Next, Mary.
Hi, everyone. Mary Duran. I work for Oak Street Health, and I'm in the Denver and El Paso County area.
Thank you, Mary. Paula?
Paula Levy with Never Alone Consulting, formerly in the Tiller County area, now in South El Paso County. Yep, that's all.
And our extraordinary membership chair for the time being. Thanks, Paula. Amy Smith.
I'm Amy Smith. I am the campus sales director for an independent and assisted living. I've been working with seniors since 2008, and I am representing Fountain.
Thank you, Amy. Steve.
Hey there, can you hear me? There we go. I'm Steve Peterson. I'm the CEO of Porchlight Health. That's a platform for helping at-risk populations connect to the resources they need to stay independent. I'm an El Paso County commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Going down here, Mary Ann.
Hello?
Hi, Mary Ann. We could hear you. We're doing quick intros if you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Karen Query, and maybe I'm taking Mary Ann's seat today because she had another meeting, and I'm with the Seniors Alliance of Platte Canyon in Bailey, Colorado.
Welcome. Thank you for filling in, and hope this is a valuable conversation for you. Next,
Thank you.
Penny.
Hi, Penny from Park County Senior Coalition. And I think I'm going to be representing or will represent Fair Play or AMA.
Welcome, Penny.
Thank you.
I do see a hand up. I'm not sure if that's by mistake or by design, but it does have a phone number listed with the last digit 92. So feel free to have the floor if you want to talk. All right, I'll assume that's a mistake, and we'll move to those folks who are in person. And I thought I'd heard Connie showed. So Connie, I'll pass it over to you, please.
Okay, I'm not good with mics. Okay. My name is Connie Ryan. I'm with Journey Care Coordinating and one of the newest commissioners here in the El Paso County area.
Welcome, Connie. So sorry. Yeah, you're there in person, but you are surrounded by very, very talented people on either side of you. So with that, we'll hand it over to Melissa, if you don't mind doing an intro.
So thanks, Dayton. Melissa with the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging, program administration. Thank you. And Jody.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jody Barker, Director of the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging. Good to see everyone.
Great to see you virtually, Jody. And I can't see Jared, but would love for Jared to do a quick intro, as I know he's been just great asset in our latest meetings.
I have a face for radio and a voice for print, so it's by design that I'm off to the side. But Jared Verner, Public Information Officer for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments and the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging.
I'm gonna steal that, Jared. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, all. So we'll go ahead and just move right along here on agenda approval. Any recommended revisions to the agenda as is? If not, we could look for a motion of approval.
I move we approve the agenda.
I second. Paula.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Paula. And that is Amy Mitchell who motioned first for note-taking sake. And anyone opposed to the agenda approval? Seeing none, motion carries. We'll move over to consent items. Make sure I'm on the right agenda here. Okay. And we will look to approve the minutes from the October 18th meeting. And happy to look for a motion on that or any recommended revisions for discussion.
Me, Mitchell, I move that we approve the minutes from October 18 as written.
Thank you, Amy.
I second.
Thank you, Paula. Anyone opposed to approving the October minutes? Motion carries. Consider those minutes approved. And we will move over to public comment. And I know that typically we'll look for a notice in advance if there are any. We've been a little looser on it, just encouraging folks in the community to come in and offer any comments that they might have. But Jared, can I look to you to see if there were any notices in advance to make public comment or presentation?
So, Mr. Chair, we did not receive any advance requests for public comment, and we did not receive any written submitted public comments. I will ask for those who are online who are not members to please use the raise hand function if you would like to make public comment. But we also do not have anyone in the room who is not either a staff member or a commissioner. And as I've stalled a little bit for time, I have not seen any hands raised within the Microsoft Teams room.
Great. And just for the record, again, really encourage, public comments and presentations for the group that, folks feel strongly about getting information in front of us. I'm seeing no action items, so we'll go ahead and just move right over to item 6A in membership committee. And Paula, I will give you the floor.
And I'm going to pass it on to Melissa because she's been more involved with the current newest members. Connie, welcome to the group. Wish I was there to give you a hug, but I'm so glad you've joined us. And Melissa, I am drawing a blank on the names that we've most recently been reaching out to.
All right, thanks, Paula. So on the phone with us today, we have 2 members from Park County. These gals, we actually met, and well, Penny's both have been around for a while, but we had an opportunity when the Regional Advisory Council went to Park County and held their meeting back in August or so. They attended and heard a little bit also about the Commission on Aging, and reached out to me the other day and said that they were at a place where they had kind of come around and decided they were very interested in potentially being on the commission. So again, as Mary Ann mentioned, she's kind of in the Bailey area with the Seniors Alliance for Platte Canyon. And then Penny is currently the executive director for the Park County Senior Coalition, but mentioned that she may be able to kind of represent the town of Alma, or maybe Fairplay, and kind of, represent interests from that part of Park County. And we'll dig into more of that as we get to interview them and talk more just in membership meetings offline. So welcome, ladies. And then we did have Erica, and she said that she was going to take a pause while she was in between looking for jobs, and would reach out to us if she was interested once she settled in her new position. So we're kind of, she's at this point in time, kind of off the list of potential new members. So, and that's okay. She knows how to find us, and so we'll look forward to hearing from her if that comes up. And then I do have quite a bit of feedback for a Commission on Aging orientation with our new members. And for those who have been chiming in, I may end up proposing that, because really the intent is to get us all together as much as we can and get to know each other. And so I'm kind of leaning towards maybe doing it on the 30th and seeing if everybody might be able to just come on the 30th. But nobody needs to pitch in right now. Just know that emails will be coming out to see if that might work. Or we might try to do 2, because as of now, with the dates that are out there, I basically have 4 dates and everybody's by themselves. So I'd really like to see us try to get a date when we're all together, or at least 2 people are in the meeting at the same time, to be able to get to know each other a little bit better. So more emails coming before the end of the week. Hopefully by Friday, we will have nailed down an official date. So thanks everybody for input on that, and looking forward to getting newbies in the room and talking more about the Commission on Aging. So, all right, I think that's all I have, Paula, unless you have anything else.
And I'm still waiting to hear from an appointment or a suggestion for someone from the Aspen Mine Center in the Cripple Creek Victor area. And I know that Ted gets really busy at this time. He heads up the Salvation Army handbell ringing project throughout Woodland Park and Cripple Creek and Divide. And so I'm guessing we will probably hear something for the first of the year about their person that will be joining, but he was very, very interested in having someone from from Cripple Creek on the commission. So I know we'll see someone within the next couple months coming from the commission. And Penny, I know we've spoke on the phone multiple times, so I look forward to getting to know you and hopefully see you in person at some point on this journey.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So I think that's it, Dayton.
Great. A lot going on. And certainly I'll just echo welcome to those who are listening in today. And Paula, thank you for all your efforts. And Melissa, I really appreciate you coordinating the orientation. I know that kind of building the foundation as a new commissioner is an important step. All right. We'll go ahead and move on to 6B for the policy committee. And Amy, I will look to you to kick us off in that conversation, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had our meeting Monday with the Colorado Center for Aging. We had a presentation from a very distinguished gentleman, Dayton Romero, who gave us a rundown on OATS, the Older Adults Technical Services, AKA Senior Planet. Learned a lot about what you're doing out at Lowry. It's excellent. Looks like a really good program and a lot of seniors engaged. There's a lot of information on the website, so that was very enjoyable. Policy. We mainly had conversation about the upcoming special legislative session, which will launch Friday, and talking about what is anticipated to be discussed. We do not have, got a couple draft bills from some Republican representatives and senators, have not seen anything but some ideas from the Democrat side of the aisle yet. But we will be thoroughly engaged, and me with CCI, Colorado Counties Inc., as we are just concerned about, we live on property tax, counties do in special districts, and the state lives on income tax for the most part. So we hope to educate them on what their changes may lead to, especially with HH being defeated. This is an interesting chain of events. We also talked about housing and how input is being gathered for the legislative session in 2024. Colorado Counties Inc. is doing a series of white papers to help educate the legislature on how counties are very different and what many counties are doing to work on housing. And so we're effort to engage and educate. And we're just talked about standing committees at the Colorado Center for Aging and who is going to be paying attention to what during the legislative session. So that is my report.
Amy, this is Melissa. When you talk about white papers getting put together, is that CCI that's doing the white papers, or is that the Colorado Center for Aging doing white papers?
That is, thank you, Melissa, for the question. That is CCI. And once we have those inked, which our goal is very soon, there'll be public information, and we can make them available to anybody who is interested in county perspective and what we are all doing to try to help promote and increase workforce housing and housing opportunities in general.
I'd like to add, I don't know if I mentioned this because I might not have known it at the last Commission on Aging meeting, but I know I've said it a couple of times. Proposition 123, which was the legislation that was passed this whenever that was passed to help counties be able to access funding to do affordable housing. Cities, counties had an opportunity to sign on to be part of Proposition 123. And in the Pikes Peak Council of Governments service area, we had the city of Colorado Springs, the city of Cripple Creek, and the city of Fairplay sign on to receive funding from Proposition 123 when the time comes. since I've looked at those documents, there may have been other cities or jurisdictions that have signed on, but I think it's nice to know that at least, one city in each of our counties has signed on with that.
Melissa, this is
information,
Amy.
Melissa. Oh.
Yeah, I believe that Park County did sign on as a participant with the town of Fairplay because we did not have the availability to reach 3% each year for 3 years in a row. We do not have enough water nor wastewater treatment infrastructure to be able to grow that much housing. But with cooperating with Fairplay, I believe we are going to be part of that too to help as a team effort increase housing. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Melissa. We will move over to the Colorado Commission on Aging bullet point. And Kathy, if you have any insight from that table, would really appreciate any updates that you might have.
Okay. Well, the request for funding for the AAAs was not included in the 2023 governor's budget. However, it is a priority for CCOA. So we're drafting a letter to support AAA funding increase, and we're trying to get them to change the funding formula so that it's gonna, well, ideally, it would be assessed every 3 years, adjusted for inflation and population growth. I mean, that's ideal. And we're also going to do an internal letter and see if we can get some traction with that. So.
Thank you, Kathy.
Nobody's getting enough. That's one thing they did say. Nobody's getting enough, but we have to prioritize for our budgeting.
And I think, I also heard that news, Kathy, that you just let us know on of, that the AAA request not making the governor's budget. And Jody, I'm not sure if that is a good sort of segue into the PPACG Legislative Committee updates or if it's a discussion item, but given what Kathy said in terms of support, would love your insight on that piece as well of if you see this group kind of helping with that in any way too. So kind of a twofold there for you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, it's not directly for the legislative committee at this point yet. It may come up, and Jared is ready to share his legislative report, but just know that there are efforts going on across the state, much like the governor's letter that was submitted on behalf of area agencies on aging across the state, as well as providers across the state that use the Area Agency on Aging and Older Coloradans Act funding. There are continued efforts to raise awareness around the need for that continued funding, and some of the to what Kathy mentioned, some of the funding formula and the review every few years to account for the just increased cost of living and that opportunity to review it every several years. So there are continued efforts to pursue that, even with the JBC, that's a joint budget committee, and the members there. And so that's what we have as of now. That effort is being led out of our largest area agency on aging out of the Denver metro area. They have staff that that is their primary focus, is that level of advocacy and awareness. And so we are fortunate to be able to be part of that as they lead those efforts. So more to come, and we will certainly keep the Pikes Peak Commission on Aging apprised as we move forward with that.
Thanks so much for that, Jody. And I'll kind of insert here because I was going to save it for a discussion item, but since we're on the topic with Dr. Cog and the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and this request denial, more or less. I attended an event called Allies of Aging in Denver that was facilitated by Dr. Cog and Nimble. Some of you are familiar with Nimble, which is a platform that aims to prevent falls among older adults. And what I ultimately picked up from that conversation, one, this request not quite making it, and just the idea of $5 million, if that's accurate as a request, being more or less kind of like a write-off or a rounding error, rather. It made me think, and what I'd heard was with JBC is making a business case for aging services and how older adults or the senior service industry, how can we empower across the board their capacity and their ability to communicate their impact in a sort of business framing of showing the ROI and showing kind of the impact in those terms. That was kind of a conversation that kind of cascaded from that event with, I connected with some commissioners of the Colorado Commission and Jayla, the AAA director, and others there. And it's something that is just kind of top of mind of from kind of this higher level of how do we empower the aging industry as a whole, especially nonprofits and contractors of AAAs, of articulating their impact in this framework. Everyone's doing such phenomenal work and amazing work, having tremendous impact through their unique missions, but getting to a place where everyone is kind of providing the data that does kind of eventually hit a single path that articulates in this sort of way that speaks to the return on investment as the legislature either invests or others fund these really important and critical services for the aging space and aging services across the state.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Dayton. And it really is an ongoing conversation, not one that we can really rest from. At this time, Mr. Chair, Dayton, I need to step away for a few minutes. I have a state meeting here at 3:30, and I will rejoin the meeting in a few minutes. Jared is poised and ready to go for his PPACG Legislative Committee update. And then if I'm not back in time, I will ask that he go ahead and cover the board items and what's been discussed here recently. So I will join you all shortly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jody. Jared, I'll hand it off to you. I do see Steve's hand up. So Steve, go for it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to drill in a little bit more on the last conversation or the presentation you provided. That's just setting off all sorts of red flags in my head, and is either something we need to be a really vocal part of to make sure that the initiatives in the county are well represented within the greater funding voice at the state level. And so I don't understand all the mechanisms. Should this be something that we actively take a part in, or is there somebody here more locally that is our representative in those conversations?
I think it's a great question. I think it could certainly be a part of our role, and I think it might be maybe a good conversation to have as we go into the tactics data sort of conversations later in the meeting as we develop the tactics and goals and objectives. I think it's a good sort of thing to pair with just having that sort of insight in mind of what's going on at the state level and how we could be really intentional as we come up with these pieces to help that progress.
Cool. Yeah, let me know how I can help with that. I feel like that's something I can from a ROI perspective. That's somewhere I can help.
Thank you, sir. All right, Jared. I know you're ready to go, buddy. Go for it.
Alrighty. Well, I've had people steal my thunder, but I'll still mention a few things. So, as Commissioner Mitchell mentioned, we do have a special session that will begin at 9 a.m. on Friday. So, just a little bit of level setting for people who may not be as familiar with the state legislative process. It takes at least 3 days for a bill to make it through the legislature. And so the earliest that a bill could make it through the legislature would be Sunday, assuming they work Saturday and Sunday. Very similar. We have seen a lot of proposals from the Republican side, have not seen anything come out yet on the Democratic side. I know that there were minutes from their caucus meeting from a couple days ago that just provide a little bit of insight, but again, nothing firm that we have seen, so we'll be anxiously awaiting what that looks like. With the failure of Proposition HH, staff will likely be going back to our board of directors to place back into our legislative priorities the senior homestead tax exemption, which would have been a part of Proposition HH. That is something that the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments has been pushing for several years. Senator Liston has been a big proponent of that in our area. That was included in HH. We will redouble that effort again for this legislative session. And then for awareness, Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Legislative Committee will meet on Monday in response to the special session. That I believe that meeting will begin at noon, so anyone is welcome to listen in on that. So that's the part on the special session. As was mentioned on the governor's budget proposal, we also noticed the same thing, that there was no increase in the AAA funding. With that being said, the Joint Budget Committee at the General Assembly begins meeting tomorrow. And so we'll be listening in on that. Of the 6-member panel, we do have one person from El Paso County. He represents the eastern part of it. So we do have some representation, but obviously the JBC is looking at every program across the state, not just senior services. On the governor's budget proposal, a lot of that had to do with education and housing. And obviously housing being the primary focus of the special session. At the federal level, we are monitoring the budget negotiations at the federal level. With the House passing a continuing resolution, I believe yesterday, we're expecting the Senate to pass it and we're expecting the president to sign it. So we're not expecting quite the anxiousness with this budget round. That would expand it for about 2 months. So we'll just get the postponed until 2024 in January. And then on the federal level, we do have one member of our federal delegation, Representative Buck, who has announced that he will not run for re-election. Representative Buck's coverage primarily Eastern Plains, which creeps in El Paso County on the east side a little bit. We've seen a number of candidates jumping on the Republican side, so we're expecting that to be a competitive primary. And then separately, going back to the state level, Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments was asked as part of the governor's strategic growth executive order that was issued a couple of months ago to provide some feedback. I'd say it's more in the crowdsourcing component of what can be done in the realm of helping with housing costs. I would say it's just kind of soliciting ideas to see what that looks like. Obviously, with our primary focus at the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments being aging and transportation, that's where a lot of our comments were focused. But we're looking through that and trying to provide input so that at least the Pikes Peak region is part of those discussions as the governor's office puts that policy together. That's all I have. A longer legislative update than usual for a November meeting especially, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I see Amy's hand up. Go for it, Amy.
Yeah, Jared, just a quick question. I'd like to log on to the legislative meeting on Monday. Where will I find the link? Just on the website?
On the website, and I don't think I put you on the hold. I'll send that to you as well. We have not created the link yet. We just put the hold in right now.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just, we're under Tabor, so we're not as impacted, but we need to really stay on this and see what they're gonna throw at us. So thank you.
Yeah. I was expecting to go into Thanksgiving, like just kind of cruise control, but nope, not quite.
Yeah, never works out that way, Jared.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
All right. Seeing no further questions, Jared, really appreciate the update and just the great insight from all the different levels. So thank you.
My pleasure.
You can go ahead and segue into the board items.
I'll be happy to. Thank you. So the November board meeting took place last Wednesday. A longer meeting from start to finish, about 4.5 hours. But the board covered a lot of materials. Probably while not directly tied to aging, but just in general, I guess the one thing that wasn't as focused on transportation was we did get a budget approval, which did include a 5% increase in member dues. And to help explain what that does, a lot of times our dues are what we leverage to be able to put in for matching grants. So a lot of if we're competing for grants and there's a X% match requirement, that's what we use for that. Most significantly, our legislative activities are covered 100% on member dues because a lot of our federal grants just do not allow for any kind of legislative activity, any kind of lobbying, any kind of. We can provide education. We can say if a bill is introduced and it does X, we can tell you what it will do in Y different ways. But in terms of that, and as we kind of go back to the governor's proposal, we have to be very careful on how we spend that money and where that money comes from, because it cannot come from OAA, Older Americans Act funding, or from the transportation funds that we receive as well. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, a lot of transportation focused stuff as the long range transportation plan is coming up. And because of the timing on that and crunch time and some procurement issues at the state level, we're cramming about 20 months of planning into about 14 months, which is a lot to do in order to make sure that we can still use federal transportation funds come early 2025. So happy to answer any questions, knowing that it was a fairly light on the aging side for this board meeting.
Seeing no questions for you, Jared. Thank you for that update from the board.
Thank you.
All right, so we will move over to 6D, the chair report, and I have a few things I wanted to just quickly get on everyone's radar, which includes kind of a timeline that we're looking at. I know last month we discussed around us presenting to the PPACG board in January, and we went into the executive committee meeting talking about whether or not we are going to have a workshop or have a formal agenda item, which we would be allocated about 10 minutes to present. And Melissa, I'm not sure if you have any updates on any guardrails that we need to stick to, given that we were recommended a workshop in January.
No updates right now.
Okay, so for now, we are, what we concluded in the exec meeting was that we would request a formal agenda item in January to have that 10-minute presentation and evaluate whether or not we can have a follow-up workshop later in the year, just so that we can further educate on what we're doing in our progress, etc. But just ensuring that idea that we have a captive audience during that meeting, and given the duration and the potential likelihood of folks kind of having to scoot after the meeting and not being able to attend the workshop, we just want to make sure that we use that 10 minutes as much as we can and make it as valuable as we can, as the presentation will be our strategic plan. So kind of working backward from that goal of presenting in January our strategic plan to the board, I would like for us to be able to vote our strategic plan in December, vote that in as a group. So today's exercise will be very critical to help us get to that place of completion of that plan. Of course, and if we are able to accomplish that today, we will look to just kind of polish it, get it on some letterhead, make it look pretty for December's review of us collectively, and we'll look to vote it in then. That is that part of my update. Any questions on that? Great. The second part is our slate of officers. We're already in November, and it seems like once we hit the second week in November, it's kind of just accelerated till January. It's just fast forward to January. But with that said, we do have some candidates for our officer slate, which we will look to vote in December. And I just want to thank Paula and Aaron for stepping up and throwing their hat in the ring for those officer positions. So thank you both so much. And thank you, Amy, for your willingness to continue in your current officer role. But we will look to make everything formal in December through vote and get everyone kind of set up in that way.
And Dayton, if people can see me, Paula.
I think we see Connie, but
yep.
Well,
and I'm next to her, and Paula found these lovely little chairs, these little tokens to acknowledge the chairs when they come in January, and acknowledge and thank Dayton for your role as chair this whole time. But anyway, she found some cute little symbolic chairs for us to be passing around. So we can look forward to that in voting in December, and then on we go in January. So there we go. Thanks, Paula.
Love it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Paula. It's great. And thanks for the emoji, Aaron, of the chair. All right. Fantastic. I think the last thing on the chair report is just the acknowledgement of this document that I would like to share in the chat. Melissa, I know that you shared a version of this document a little bit earlier, but I'm hoping that I could put kind of an updated version of that same document in the chat. We could include it in sort of materials afterwards so that others outside of this meeting can see what we're all looking at and reviewing. But in the document, and I'll pop it up here soon, it does include our 4 goals that we've been working on all year, our objectives. Today we will be talking about the tactics, but that top part, I do, even in transition with others coming into officer roles, really would love for this commission to continue this sort of lens of internal goals and external goals. So the internal goals just really upkeeping on the infrastructure of the commission and ensuring that we're successful and paying attention into the way that we conduct ourselves and hold ourselves kind of accountable, whether it be our recruitment efforts and getting more talented people to participate on this group, how we're paying attention to the policy committee and what they're doing, and and ensuring that we have representation on each committee, and those committees are strong. So just want to kind of put in a plug in this framework of us paying attention into kind of how we look at things internally as a group, and then the external stuff really being what we focus on with that foundation that we set up through those internals, or through that internal outlook. So with that said, we can go ahead and move to the next item on our agenda, which is to go into the exercise of developing our tactics. I did create, so Jared, is it cool if I pop this into the chat, an updated version of the document you have pulled?
You should be able to. You should also be able to share it on your end if you want to.
Okay. Let's see here. It doesn't let me, so I'm going to email it to you, Jared.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I think like I have restrictions on my end of sharing documents in Teams chats outside of my organization. So there's that. But today we are going to go into breakout rooms, unless Jared says that's not feasible today. But our hope is to go into conversation today. I'm sharing my screen and hopefully everyone can see it.
Yes.
Thus far, we have nailed down our goals, which we have 4 goals. We've nailed down our objectives, our objectives under those goals. And today we are going to break out and pair up, or 3 of us, and we will talk about tactics. So we're, as breakouts, going to identify tactics associated with these goals and objectives. I've put together some questions to ask yourself as you're having these conversations, or as you're identifying your tactic. So what data sets are you looking at with that tactic, and how will you track that? What resources will you need in order to make that tactic work? What metrics? I think it's super imperative that we are clear about the metrics that we're associating with these tactics and objectives, and then the timeline and milestone indicators. By no means is this kind of an exhaustive list, but I'm hoping those are 4 components that you can cover as you go through these tactics. So as you say, how are we going to foster partnerships with healthcare providers to ensure comprehensive and age-appropriate care options? How are we going to do that? And as you identify the how, then I think it's important to ask yourselves this question of what resources will be needed to make that happen, what data sets, what are the measurables, what are the timelines, and how will we measure our progress? So that is pretty consistent across them all, and we are going to break out, and we're each going to be working on a goal as pairs. So whether it be, Steve and I focusing on goal 1, Mary and Aaron focusing on goal 3, we're going to pair up in that way and have these conversations. And then we're going to come back and kind of see what we came up with. It could be from 1 to 3 tactics if you're ambitious, but what I will ask is that you at least come out with 1 tactic and report out on your 1 tactic that you've identified, and also be able to kind of speak to these questions, these components. All right, I think that's what I have for guidance going into this exercise. and these conversations, I am happy to answer any questions.
I have something, but I'm going to wait and see if other commissioners have a question first.
Dayton, this is Amy Mitchell. Can you leave, or Jared, can you leave that page up there so we can refer to that when we're having conversation? I think it would be helpful because with this is the first time I've seen your data sets, resources, and all that. It would be helpful to be able to refer to that in conversation.
Yep. And I just emailed that over to you, Jared. So perhaps whenever you get that, you could pop that into the chat, because I know as we get into breakout rooms, screen sharing is, I don't think it's a function.
I would concur and thank you. I just got it. So if that works, I've got the different goals. I'll just drop them into each of the room chats so that you have something to look at. I'll just copy and paste from Dayton's document. So I think logistically we got that sorted out.
Perfect. Thank you.
And so my two questions are, first of all, we have two guests online today. So I'm hoping, Jared, that you might just be able to assign Marianne or the gal is it Carrie, and then Penny to just a group, and they can be listening in the background. So there will be a group that will have 3 people instead of just 2, if that works. And then I am kind of wondering, do we want to see if people have a certain affinity for, particular goals, and, try to say, like, if Paula, really wants to work on the caregiver piece, does somebody else want to work on caregiver with Paula? And just kind of see, and if, Steve wants to work on social engagement and inclusion, does somebody want to work with him on that? Or how do we want to try to divide it up?
Great question. Maybe, Jared, is there a poll function that we could pop in there and we could see who votes for what, and then accordingly we could assign those folks who vote for whatever goal can break out into that room?
So we don't have the poll function in our version, at least not that I'm seeing, but I am able to manually assign. So if people want to go ahead, we can pair up and then go from there.
I'll pair up with Connie.
Well, Connie, it might be kind of hard because Connie's here, and I don't know.
I can text with her.
Yeah. Okay.
We should be able to, because it's as a separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Connie and Paula, caregiving.
So just in respect to everyone else's sort of preference on which goal they want to focus in on, how about each person pops the goal that they would like to focus in on in the chat? And then Jared, would you be able to assign according to that?
I should be able to.
Okay, cool. So everyone pop goal 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 4. Sorry, we only go to 4 on whichever one you want to go to.
I'm driving, so can I just tell you?
Yes.
Okay, so I would do the social engagement or the healthcare one.
Pick one, Aaron, please.
Right now, I'm looking like 2 or 3 are the ones that age-friendly housing and transportation and caregiver support are the ones that look like need folks. So Aaron will go in one of those, it looks like.
Aaron, come to us. Have Aaron come to us.
That was creating age-friendly housing and transportation and strengthening caregiver support and services
And Paula and Connie, which one are you in?
Caregiver support.
Okay. So I'll do housing too then.
Erin just said housing.
Yeah, not to not join you, Paula, because I like
Okay.
that group too. But I think housing will be where I'll be spending a lot of my time at innovations, and so I think
Yeah,
that'll
no
be
worries.
a good place for
No,
me.
no feelings hurt.
Okay. And to keep things equally balanced there.
There you go.
Yep.
So Jared, right now, assuming everyone's answered, I'm not sure at this point. Do we have kind of a distributive breakout makeup?
Almost. Sorry, I'm doing math. Let's see. You got 2 and 1, 2 and 2, 2 and
I'm just really glad people are kind of lining up with certain goals, because I thought that way we'll really have a good chance to really dig deep into one versus trying to come up with something for 4. So this worked out really well, even though it's a little crazy, but it's good.
We're managing pretty good right now.
Okay. So I think we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 commissioners online, if I counted correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Okay. And why do I have different numbers? 2, 1, 4, 2. Oh, because I'm missing. I'm forgetting the one here. 9. Okay. So let's see if we can do this, and let's get rock and rolling.
Thank you, sir.
How much time do we want to stay out? It's 4 o'clock.
I think we need to come back at 4:45 at the very latest for report outs.
Okay. Gosh, great. If people get done early, maybe send an email to me.
Okay. So Steve. Okay. 10. Okay. Thank you all for being patient. Let's see. Okay. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3.
As Jared does that,
Okay, well, I wait.
keep in mind that with the timeline and like the frequency of or the indicators of milestones, that we are looking at impacting the CASOA data, right? So there are going to be metrics kind of in between that we're going to look at that we feel will correlate potentially with the CASOA when it's done again 4 years from last year or this year, Melissa? I forgot.
Those were really kind of last year figures, right?
Yeah, that's right. So 26 is when the next COSOA will be done.
I think so.
Okay. So keep that in mind, four-year span here.
So are you saying that the goals and the tactics that we are creating will happen within a 4 years time?
Yes.
Because then if we think about a goal and how much time we have to complete it, that can be more strategic and high level as we think about what actually needs to happen within that goal. That's good to know.
Yeah, and you're right, Mary. So like the goals are super high level. The objectives are dialing in a little bit further, and then the tactics are the how. And the tactics could be, associated with something that is either continuous throughout the 4 years or something done kind of short term, middle term, long term type of thing.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna see if this works. Everyone's ready. We'll divide and conquer, and hopefully I got everyone in the right room.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Jared is a master of this stuff.
I know.
You're back in here right on time.
Jared, that
Yeah.
was awesome.
I'll
Very
be
impressive.
I'll be honest. It was the first time I tried it in Teams, so I'm glad it worked. It was a little
Good.
nerve-wracking, but
All right. So I am assuming everyone is back in here. Is that a good assumption, Jared?
it looks like it. Yes.
All right. Cool. Well, in respect of time, would love to see if anyone would love to go first in what their conversation is about and any tactics you'd come up with.
Oh, Amy's hands up.
Amy, you're on it. Go for it.
If Steve and I can go first, I have to boogie out of here at 10 till 5 to get to a meeting with the National Forest Service.
Please do.
We looked at under our goal of addressing enhancing accessible and affordable healthcare under physical challenge of being a challenge with a person's physiology, their body, but also physical challenges with getting to a physician's office, and then the healthcare needed. And so that's kind of the lens we looked through in talking about this issue. And I am going to let Steve take it from here.
All right. Yeah, so I'll just have you know that we ended up coming up with a solution related to telehealth, and it was not my idea to begin with. It was, Amy started with that one. So, but yeah, so the idea of first coming in with the data, there's some resources that we're using that I have access to, and I'm going to be tapping Dayton on as well, like IP3, and then there's a Colorado AG-friendly health systems that can help us get additional information. And then I've got an action item to go follow up and find more sources for that. As it relates to the COSOA, there's a real big opportunity to align a lot of this data that I know is being collected via these other resources, and really lines up well with the COSOA data as well. So I believe we will have the ability to create ongoing data collection and hit the interim milestones we talk about later with the monthly measurable metrics. So some of the considerations, though, is that, making sure that we're able to look across all 3 counties, starting to really look at the details of a solution as it relates to rural versus metro, being more broadly focused or tightly focused. And then Amy came up with the idea of being able to leverage the ambulance districts because they have treatment rooms to maybe bring in telehealth as an opportunity to address kind of both sides of that, enhancing accessibility and also the affordability of healthcare, and do it in a way that we can capture data that helps understand, are we really making any progress? And so these, I think this is Dayton's term, the anchor community opportunities with either fire departments or libraries or those sorts of things as well can then become a place where we can expand the access to healthcare. Without going into a tremendous amount of detail, there's from a resource standpoint, there's a lot of drill down that needs to happen both at the provider level, the community level for infrastructure components, and then understanding the population limitations. And so that's part of what we're gonna, we would propose that we lay out. And I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but from a timeline perspective, it would take 6 months-ish to be able to start to pull those resources together. And it sounds like we already have through this organization and others there, we have access to the different resources that we would need to collaborate on this. At the end of the day, where this ends up is sort of having measurable goals associated with the number of interactions that we can create between population, the community itself, and healthcare providers. That's something that's measurable today. And then, are we able to improve that, and through that improve access to health, as well as, quality of life and reduce the cost of care. At least the research shows that if you can increase those touch points and do it in a more proactive fashion, then you're limiting the crisis responses to healthcare. So improving connections would be, and counting those number of interactions, frequency, that's one metric. And then with telehealth, you also have the ability to ask additional follow-up questions that could help understand more of the living situation associated with the CASOA data. Can it be, does this improve the quality of life? What other challenges did you have in getting here? So we could uncover and identify additional transportation problems or support needs and things like that. So this could become a data gathering opportunity that supports a more broad understanding of, or interim understanding of the CASOA data. And that's pretty much it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Amy. Very, very insightful. I hope either of you might have taken notes that you might could share with Melissa, as she and all of us on the exec committee kind of put things together, and everyone's awesome wisdom from these conversations, we could kind of go from there and synthesize. But thank you, sir. And in respect of time, we have 9 minutes and 3 more report outs. So I think that equates to 3 minutes apiece. I'll stop talking now. Paula, I know you wanted to go and you were on the clock.
Connie's on. Connie's gone.
Or Connie, go for it.
Okay. All right. Real fast, we're looking at the strengthening caregiver supports and services. We would basically looking through the lens of awareness and education and helping the community to define what is a caregiver. So we would hope to actually see increases in the CASOA information or CASOA data in both categories, because we hope people are now aware that they are caregivers and therefore reporting their challenges. Basically, for our tactic, we are looking at possibly hosting an annual event with that awareness and education focus, bringing in caregivers specifically. So having resources and opportunities for their loved ones. Let's see, I'm trying to go super fast here. Our metrics would be with the event, its actual self, we would need to do some sort of tracking so that we see the increase in that CASOA information, as well as feedback from the attendees, so that we are making sure that we're hitting the point with all of this and that we are promoting already existing programs and helping people to become aware of the opportunities in our community. And then even bringing in a little bit of a legislative piece there to help educate people as far as what they can then do to be more proactive and helpful overall. And then resources. Oh, there's a variety of different resources we'll need with this kind of event, from sponsors and vendors to marketing, and then venues of that nature. Timeline, we would be looking to possibly host our first event in October of 2024, which is also known as Caregiver Appreciation Month. Paula, if I'm missing anything, let me know.
I think and also realizing that doing it for 3 years in a row, starting in Colorado Springs, then looking at Teller County to host the next year, and then kind of do you do something in Park County or, not. So that was the making sure that we're covering the 3 areas.
Extraordinary. Wow. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Paula. Oh, sorry, you're muted.
Amy was with us too.
Thank you, Amy.
Amy Smith.
Amazing. We'll go on to the next group.
I guess we can go, Kathy and myself.
Yep, go for it, Mary.
Kathy took the notes, so Kathy, fill in where I leave out. But we kind of worked backwards from the goal. So the first year would be identifying and researching each county's places of community. So that could be within a city sector. I can't say the word municipalities. I don't really say that. Nonprofits and for-profits. So diving deep within those different sectors about what infrastructures are in place that people can go. And it can also be like parks and trails. So that first year would just be researching and getting a database of community building places, or it could be non-tangible like groups that meet. The second year would be then to dive into those programs, really get to know them and learn what's working, what's not working, and figure out what's not working, and then create a plan. So if that means funding, or for instance, we talked about dog parks, a lot of them are not accessible, right? So getting in a plan of how can they make those places accessible for all. Year 3 would be fixing the problem via funding or whatever we determined in year 2. And then year 4, after the problem has been fixed, or we then help grow and promote. So that's kind of where we landed. Anything else, Kathy, I'm missing?
Hearing none. Mary, thank you so much. And thank you, Kathy, for your contributions to that conversation and the notes. Hopefully we will receive soon from you all. All right, 3 minutes. Erin and Penny, if you have anything to kind of color in from our group, I'm happy to report out, given that I've taken the notes, and I'll also quickly share my screen. So we had the goal of creating age-friendly housing and transportation. Easy stuff. No, we were like, holy crap, this is so big. So we started with a tactic of establishing relationships with leaders across the Tri-County area and share our strategic plan. We really want to build that relationship with county commissioners across the Tri-County area, and also groups focusing on housing and transportation. We would establish, hopefully, a biannual meeting, or however frequent, establishing strong communication. Resources, ideally, we have strong recruitment in the membership committee where we have people in those counties, so we're not traveling too far, and we have kind of those networks. AAA to be a liaison and a navigator in some of those landscapes, and progress and measures. How often relationship metrics are really tough and intangible. They're kind of elusive. So we said, how often these groups across these counties that we build relationships in this regard for lean on COA for our expertise. That might be a good indicator that they trust us and we're building credibility amongst them. The timeline relationship building is ever going, so it's across the 4-year duration. The second is education campaign on the value of age-friendly policies related to transportation and housing. We'd create a baseline survey with ideally some university students to help us create that assessment. We'd also educate ourselves on age-friendly policies related to transportation and housing so that we could facilitate that. Some resources would be some community champions and organizations that would be willing and able to disseminate the survey, as well as help us launch the education campaign, which includes holding events, workshops, and communities, and handing out flyers, posting flyers, and using some of their comms channels. The data and the timeline associated with that is twofold, in that we would look at the pre and post data, the pre and post assessment data annually. We would also look in that survey to measure the awareness, understanding, and value of age-friendly policies related to transportation and housing groups across the Tri-County area. The last tactic is facilitate the adoption of policies among transportation and housing entities in the Tri-County area. Gain insight, first of all, into data related to housing and transportation in their communities according to their definitions. That was something that Aaron had just really great insight on, of like everyone's defining things differently. So that's a really important thing to kind of be intentional about. The data, I'd said maybe a cool way of keeping apprised of policy adoptions is by celebrating and recognizing transportation and housing organizations that are adopting aging policies across these communities. That'll kind of keep us apprised, and we could do some things with that. Of course, resources are community champions and organizations committed to communicating the importance of the policies and getting community buy-in. Also, those organizations willing to operationalize these policies. That is an important aspect to all of this. Our progress biannually, we'll check in of how many adoptions there have been, and this is across the 4-year span. 1 minute over, dang it. Okay. That's what we have. Really appreciate everyone. And I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I'll open the floor up. Any last minute comments, questions, and then we could close out.
I love it. Good work, everybody.
Really good. Really, really good. Great job, Dayton.
Great job, everyone. This is,
Yeah.
we're going to have a smoking strategy plan ready to go to present.
Can we title this our smoking strategy plan?
I did buy cigars recently, so we can actually.
I love it.
Okay.
This is not the first time today that Steve has brought up a party to me.
Oh, funny. Could get a big smudge thing. We could smudge the board meeting.
If we ever wanted to have a social, I would offer up the house.
Cigars and Steve's.
Oh, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're recording, Steve, so
Yeah.
let the
What's
party
that
begin.
address?
I'll mention that the December meeting would be December 20th. Hopefully people are in town. Hopefully they haven't checked out yet. And then maybe after the meeting, everyone goes to Steve's house.
That'd be great.
Anyway.
I will be in Florida.
See how it
but
is?
You guys can party.
We
All
could
right.
FaceTime you after we've all taken a few puffs.
We are talking about the cigars now, are we?
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. Well,
it's
thank
recorded,
you
I
all
forgot.
so much for a super valuable exercise and conversation. And like I said, please forward your notes to Melissa and myself, Jared, just whoever on the commission, so we can get it all in one spot and begin to craft this plan in a really cohesive way. And we'll go from there. But I just want to thank everyone, and wish you a happy Thanksgiving to you and your
Yeah.
family. Safe travels if you
You
are.
too, guys.